welcome back to the Life and Listings podcast. Today I have Tom joining us. Hey, Tom.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for joining us today. For everybody that is listening that hasn't met you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, where you're from.
Absolutely. So I am from Chicago here. I run a team here in Chicago that works under the Keller Williams umbrella. So we've been doing this about 10 years now. I've got a couple agents and an assistant, and we primarily focus on the South Loop neighborhood here in Chicago.
Okay, perfect. And we're going to be talking today about some of my favorite topics of systems, and you have a little bit of a story to tell us on why that is so near and dear to you.
Yeah, so interesting enough, March 1st last year, I had a massive heart attack while playing tennis. So I got to experience what it is like to be removed from your business for a month with no notice whatsoever. So building systems and building a business that's sustainable, whether you are there or not, is something that is really close to me because, luckily we had kind of had those systems in place to run the business when I had to take an exit last year.
So obviously it's near and dear to even more so because something happened and your business was able to keep thriving. But what made you create those systems and those processes up front?
Yeah, so I'm the son of an engineer. So I don't know what is passed through DNA, but I have a sneaky suspicion that mindset of building systems and that logical thought process somehow got through the DNA and embedded itself into me. So I've always been a little systems driven on how do we build something that is not for the 2 times we're doing it now, but it's when we're doing 20 of these at the same time, right? Like, how do we think bigger into when we have multiple of what we're doing now? And so I've always thought that way of like, how do we build something that's repeatable, sustainable? And then once it's built, how do you bring somebody in to then manage that process for you, right? And so a lot of the stuff we do here starts with me. I tend to build the foundation of the process, and then Patty, the head of operations here, she runs with it. She tweaks it. She makes it better. But the name of the game is we are always trying to think bigger of how are we going to do this? We're doing 100 deals a year or 1,000 deals a year, right? What are the systems and processes we would need today in order to make that scale? And so we use that mindset to think through how we build this business.
Yeah. It's so important. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. So have you seen other realtors' businesses, whether they were joining your team or just maybe in the KW ecosystem with no systems and they're not able to take a day off? I know I have.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, that is the majority of agents, right? Like the majority of agents turn this into like a prison of which they can never take a day off. And I think a lot of them, what attracts people to this business is the freedom, right? Is like the freedom of the schedule, the freedom to do what you want, right? Not being anyone's boss, even though secretly like all of your clients are your boss, right? Let's face it. But the reality is that the systems and the processes, although people think that takes away freedom, what it actually does is it gives you the space and it gives you the freedom back. So once those systems are in place for the things that you shouldn't really be using your brain for anymore, because we've done it, we've tested it, we've figured out the best way to do it, let's put that into a system or a process so that then I can go spend that mental energy thinking about something bigger or bringing in more leads or making more calls or doing those other things that we know drive the business. But by taking the pieces of the business that aren't as important or are highly prone to errors and putting a system around them, that gives us all that time back to go do the other parts of the business that we want to do more of, or to spend time with the people we want to spend time with. I mean, that's in my opinion, the why you build systems is that it actually gives you time and freedom back.
Yeah. To do whatever you want. You can start another business.
Do what you want.
You can go and make
grow the business more, or spend it with your family, or spend it with your friends, or take the day off, right? But it gives you that freedom to then make a choice of how you want to spend that time.
Love it. So systems, tell me a little bit about what you've built. Are there certain tech tools you're utilizing? Are you using AI? Like what does your tech stack look like?
I'll nail a little bit of everything, right? So like we use a CRM that's highly configurable, and we glue everything together with a software called Zapier. It's kind of a glue for the internet, right? It allows you to automate a lot of things. So I've always believed your CRM should be outside of your company just for strategic reasons in case you ever need to move. So we have everything glued together, but like things like, for instance, we get a new listing, right? We've got a landing page on our website that our clients fill out. that stuff goes into a template automatically and spits out like a 1-page listing info sheet. So there's a lot of these things that are 15 or 20-minute time saves. But
Yeah.
if you do them 60 times a year, all of a sudden you're like, that's a week there, and that's a
Yeah.
week there, and that's 3 days there. And then before you know it, you're like, I have automated like 10 weeks worth of work, whether that's me or Patty or whoever is working on this. We've taken 10 weeks of work and automated that out of the business where we either need less people or we need to spend less time doing that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so when you're going, we're going into when we're recording this right now, we're kind of going towards the end of the year. When you're going into your business planning, are you kind of looking like, okay, I did this amount of transactions this year. My system takes this amount of time. I know this is what I need going forward, or I need to automate some more things before I, take on more transactions. How are you looking at your systems in that regard?
Yeah, so we have capacity to do more deals than we're doing today, like, or even what we did at the peak in 21, 22, right? So we still have capacity. We've been building those systems since. They're not at a point now where I'm like, oh, we need more systems or processes in order to free up more time. We have enough time. We have
Yeah.
capacity to do 80 to 100 deals a year, right? With the team that we have now. What I'm thinking about at the end of the year is like, I'm thinking about automating more time. So like, I'll give you an example. So before Thanksgiving, I was just telling Patty like a few minutes ago, like, got to write those emails. We'll set up all of our email marketing for next year, right? So we will have all of that automated. It will be all scheduled. I should say all of it, but 90% of it will be scheduled for next year. So come February, March, April, May, June, when we're busy, it's not like, well, I got to get an email out. I got to get a marketing email. It's like, it's already scheduled and ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's the type of stuff we do in the fall. We do planning for the following year. We roll out any new systems. So like any vendor that's trying to sell me something in February, March, April, I tell them like, I only make decisions in October. Call me back in October if you're interested. And then we reevaluate, whatever they're trying to sell us. And we decide, hey, is this something that we want to implement for the next year? And do we have the budget to do it?
I love that because more often than not, I see that most teams and agents have that shiny object syndrome and they're just trying to throw things in their business as it kind of comes across their desk. So you're making a full plan every single fall, scheduling things out so then you can focus on business when the market gets really hot.
Totally. So like we use Todoist for like project management, and I have like one of my projects in there, which is like potential, new projects to evaluate. So I dump everything in there throughout the year. Like I'll take the call from vendors, and then if it seems interesting, I'll say, call me back in October. I'll put a reminder in there. And then in October, right, a couple of weeks before we do business planning, I'll go through and I'll evaluate all of those and say, hey, how do I feel about it after letting it sit for 4, 5, 6 months? And then I'm like, oh, that's great. Or that's junk. I don't want to do that. And then we pick 1 or 2 things that we want to implement for the following year, and we kind of go with them from there.
Yeah. Have you decided anything you're implementing for 2025 or getting rid of?
So the funny thing is we're just going to go deeper. Like we actually have a pretty good plan. Like we've been not as consistent with our farm due to a number of reasons that are fully explainable. Let me tell you that. But we've decided that we've got like 4 pillars of leads, and that we can actually go deeper with those 4 pillars and get better at execution before we try to staple on, bolt on any other additional things. I always think it's easier to look at what you're already doing and try to get better than it is to go and try to become confident at another lead source. It's going to take a lot more energy. You're going to have to figure things out. Like it's just going to be a lot more. So I always err on the side of like building a simple business model that I can execute at a high level. Because we've all seen those agents, like you said, shiny object. They go start something, they do it for like 6 weeks. Right? It's not working. Let's stop. And then they spend all this money and this time implementing. So I want to make sure anything we're going to implement that we really believe in it, because that means we'll stick with it. Because like anything works, like literally anything works if you stick with it.
Yeah.
But if you're not committed to it, it will not work. And so we make sure we're committed before we decide we're going to implement something.
Perfect. And I'm sure you're tracking everything on the back end too, right? Like, did this actually create results? What are we putting into it? All that stuff.
We track all our lead sources, so we're able to see at the end of the year, we know what our conversion rate is on our leads, and we're able to say like, hey, look, 30% of our leads come from this source, 25 from the, so we're able to look at it and then say, hey, well, how are we doing on this? It's not perfect, but I would say we're pretty good at it.
Yeah. I mean, I think just even starting tracking is so important because I see that across so many teams where they're like, yeah, we're selling like millions of dollars of real estate a year. And I'm like, hey, from where? Not sure. We're making money. I don't know. I'm like, no. Okay, at least a basic. So, where are you tracking all of that? Are you using like a spreadsheet or using like CSU or CT?
Yeah. So here's what we do. We've got to track where our deals are coming from. I've got like a business tracker worksheet that's got basically my P&L every month, my P&L for the year, and then I track all the leads. We also track them in the CRM. We've just found a way to track them in the CRM as well. And then I'm going to show you this because this is a lot of fun. Let me show you this real quick. This is our big board. This is our big board. So we turn it into a game.
I love
We
it.
make circles for all of our leads, all of our deals, all of our etc. And then we fill them in like a big fundraising board. And it's kind of fun and cathartic to fill the circles in and see our progress throughout the year. So that sits right behind us over here. So we're looking at it every day, and we just track leads, closed deals, and client reviews. Those are our three big metrics that we know if we hit those, those are going to drive our business, growth.
Perfect. I love it. So you're tracking, you're measuring, you're planning for next year. What are your goals for 2025 production wise?
We're looking to do 25 million roughly. Let's see, that's probably 50 or 60 deals, which probably puts us back in those 21, 22 kind of like range numbers.
Yeah.
But that's where it is. We convert roughly like one deal for every two leads. So we know we need probably 125, 130 leads to get us to that number. So that's kind of where we're at. We're looking for like 25 million, 50, 55 deals next year is kind of what we're tracking for.
That's amazing. And then you mentioned your farming. What are you putting into place to kind of improve your farming?
Well, we all know you've got to be consistent with farming. Yeah. And I've been somewhat consistent, which I guess is kind of the opposite of the definition of consistency, right? So we are going to make sure that we've got a sponsor now that's going to help us split the cost of the farming, which will make it a little bit easier to commit to it. Okay. And one of the things that I'm looking at doing that I haven't done yet and I haven't committed to yet is just paying for all the farming in January and just scheduling all of the farms to go out for the entire year. And that way, if it's already paid for, I won't have to make that paying decision every month. It'll just be like, hey, look, it's already scheduled and it's already paid for. Now we don't even have to think about it. The money's already out. So, I think farming is really about just being consistent and having a consistent brand and message that goes out and some sort of value add. I think that's pretty much all you need to do with farming, and then just stay consistent.
Yeah. I think that's the key to farming, because a lot of times when people approach me and they're like, I tried sending some postcards. I'm like, okay, how many? I did it twice. Okay, do you have anything else going out to that farm? Like, are you door knocking? Do you have any other brand presence in the area? No, it's not going to be successful, right? You have to do it very consistently, and you need to have the budget in place, just like you said in January, that I'm going to be able to do this consistently for 6 months. Otherwise, you might as well just throw those postcards in the garbage.
Totally. 100% agreed.
Yeah.
100% agreed. And we work mostly in a specific geographic area. Like 90% of our deals are in the South Loop here, the South Loop neighborhood of Chicago. So we have this like kind of flywheel where we're already doing a bunch of deals in this neighborhood. People know us. They see our signs. So this farm should, in theory, really be nice, and it should be converted at even higher level than a typical farm, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've got all of your deals there and you're doing it consistently, and I'm assuming you have all these marketing emails going out that are probably going to some of that farm also. Do you do any type of events too in your farm?
Yeah, we do 3 events. So we have actually Santa is coming to the South Loop. Santa is coming to the South Loop next month. So we did a movie in the park event. We showed Hocus Pocus. In October, we had 300 people come. We rented one of the public parks here in Chicago, and we do Santa, and then we sponsor a neighborhood block party in the spring. So we are trying to build a community within a neighborhood here, and so that we are really the people that are seen as bringing the neighborhood together, and really uniting people. And I think that's going to build kind of a nice little moat around our business as far as bringing value to the people that live in the community we work.
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, if you're kind of giving them value with all of these amazing events and then they're getting some stuff maybe in the mail from you and maybe in their email and they're seeing all this different stuff, you're going to build that like very consistent brand. And
Exactly.
It's going to be an easier sell when you do pick up the phone and talk to them.
Exactly. So that's what we're really looking for, is to build these relationships with the, if you follow the $1 Million Real Estate Agent book, the unmets, right? We're trying to get with the unmets.
Yeah.
Because we do a really good job with people that know us. They don't forget about us because we are constantly adding value and helping them in any way we can and communicating with them. But it's really, how do you get outside of your sphere, right? That's where the real opportunity is getting connected with the people you haven't met. And that's, I think, really the big opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you want to continue growing your business into the 2020, 2021 numbers. Who knows what's going to happen in the real estate market next year, but at least you can be consistent with everything you're doing.
Yeah, and even that, like when the market, corrected, or not corrected, but when we had the kind of the hangover from COVID, right? The pendulum swinging back, like we managed to not suffer as much as the broader market because we had built kind of a niche business in a community, and that community kept calling us when it was tough, and so I think that was very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's all about consistency. And then all of your, the systems you're building, if you have an email scheduled out for the entire year, you're not going to forget to do that, right? It's already calendared and done and out. You're not overthinking. I mean, I know that all the agents that are listening in here have created a newsletter at some point and overthought it so much that it didn't go out in time for like Thanksgiving, because they were like, I need to edit this 5 more times, and all of a sudden they forget to send it, and now they have to redo it again for the next holiday. So I think that's so important.
And the secret is like, look, this time of year, none of us are that busy, right? Like, we got the holidays in 2 weeks. Now is the time to invest that time, that free time, back into the business and you're basically pre-doing the work for next year. And that makes your next year so much easier when you are busy with deals that you don't have to try to remember to do marketing.
Yeah. Or the alternative is where I see a lot of teams or just individual agents, they start to get busy. And then right after they get busy, their business just dips because they didn't have the time to do all the extra prospecting and the sales emails and the marketing. So now all of a sudden they have this business that's constantly going up and down because they're overwhelmed while they're, have a lot of production going on.
Right.
Yeah. So Tom, this has been amazing information. I'm gonna pivot a little bit and ask you one of our icebreaker questions. What is the funniest thing that has ever happened to you in real estate?
Oh, wow. Well, there's been a lot of really interesting things that's happened to me. I mean, I think we've all walked into a house where someone may or may not been expecting us and may or may not been fully dressed. I mean, and that's happened on numbers of occasions. But I have dealt with, I think every month it's always something like, wow, I've never seen this before, and here we are. So it is definitely a business that will keep you on your toes and will keep you either laughing or crying, depending on how you kick it. Like,
or it might just go back and forth on like a data basis, right?
Like, 100%.
I think a lot of our team are like, wow, I'm really enjoying learning. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 15 years and there's still stuff that comes up that I'm like, what? It's happening.
100%.
Well, Tom, this is amazing. If anybody wants to reach out to you or follow you or connect with you, where's the best place to send them?
Yeah, so TomCampone.com is Campone is probably where to start. You can find us on the socials, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. But yeah, we specialize in the South Loop. We'll help anybody else out in Chicago as well. So if you've got any clients moving to Chicago, we would love to be, we'd love a phone call or a referral.
Perfect. Well, yep. Send all the referrals over to Tom. And thanks for joining us, Tom. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for the invite today.
Bye.
All right, bye.